Welcome to this special show, Modi at 72. The question we are asking today, have things changed between 2014 and today with 8 years and Narendra Modi at the helm of affairs? He completes 20 years at a constitutional post between being the Chief Minister of Gujarat to now 8 years of being the Prime Minister of India. How has India changed? How has India looked at itself? Is there more self-expression? We are going to look at 5 basic areas. The first thing that we'll be looking at is, internationally, is India being taken more seriously today than it ever has been before? The second point we're going to be looking at is, are Indians today more emphatic? Are they more self-expressive? Are they more unscared and fearless to express themselves and to state their position in the world? We're also going to look at why somebody at 72 is such a huge phenomenon and a youth icon. And not just a youth icon. He's even got supporters in the most far-flung places of India, at the bottom-most population of the pyramid, the people who are needy, the people who need government support, the people who just have been looking up for their futures and their lives to change over the last 75 years of India. We're also going to look at how the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has handled crisis, because it is crisis when you actually see the real mettle of a man, of a leader at the helm of affairs. And of course, we are going to look at what this means in the Amrit Kal, in the run-up to India at 100. And tonight, joining me on this show is Ram Madhav, Senior Leader of the RSS. We are also joined by Dr. Sangita Reddy, Joint Managing Director of Apollo Hospitals. We have with us Uday Mahurkar, author, also Information Commissioner. PR Srijays, who's the goalkeeper and former captain of Indian hockey team, also joins us live on this show. And my first question goes to Dr. Sangita Reddy. Dr. Sangita Reddy, why I want to begin with a non-political point of view is to ask you, when you travel abroad or in different parts of India itself, do you get a sense, and I'm talking about an image of India which is more self-reliant, more Aatmanirbhar, and therefore more confident of the way he stands and represents our India, our nation?
So, hello Navika and Namaste. It's a pleasure to be here on the eve of the Prime Minister's birthday to really, talk about some of the amazing things that he's done and the ability to steer our country to a new level. And you're absolutely right. When we travel abroad, we are seen with a new respect. I was recently at the G20 in Indonesia, and everybody was talking about the way India handled COVID. They were asking us, how did we manage the economic situation, the health parameters, the ability to control these numbers. So across multiple dimensions, I think we do stand tall, we stand proud. Words which were never known earlier in India and outside, like Aatmanirbhar, have become part of the lexicon, and this is, very much thanks to him. But I think also some of the contributions which have far-reaching implications are the digital framework on which we are, the tech stack that we're looking at, and I mean, to say that we have done over 216 crores of vaccine doses, would this have been enabled if we had not had the base COVID app? Or the portal, which really enabled this to happen. So I think there wide range of capabilities which have been built up in the country, and hence a tremendous array of achievements, and therefore global acknowledgement.
Well, Sangita Reddy, many would say that how much of this is really Modi? Critics would say that, this has been done by people of India, and we had this even before. The usual narrative economics, as we call, comes into play. How much of this is really Modi?
So Navika, if you ask me, no one in this world is alone. It takes a village to raise a child, and therefore you can never give singular credit for any achievement. And yet again, it is leadership that galvanizes action. It is having somebody to call. I mean, would we have had a Janta curfew which was followed by the entire country unless it was declared by a leader with credibility? So it is a combination. Definitely the people, the scientists, the bureaucrats, the entrepreneurs, the small businessmen, the women of India, everyone has contributed to where we are today. And yet this movement and this pace has been accelerated and catalyzed by some tremendous leadership.
So, Mr. Ram Madhav, a part of that journey scripted by you, especially in the international arena, I want to ask you, is the world looking at India differently? Because there will be naysayers who say that pehle bhi respect thi India ki, what has changed, the regular lobby that says that. I want to ask you, how has this been designed? Is this something that is a deliberate vision on which and a strategy on which this entire last 8 years have been mapped on? Indians expressing themselves more. How do you see this Modi era and the connection of that with the new resurgence of India?
Thank you, Navika. Like many of us, I have also seen India from outside before Modi ji came to the helm of affairs in 2014. We all traveled across the world to many countries before also. But in the last 8 years, the change that has taken place is very conspicuous. Every Indian in every corner of the world is today a proud Indian. He proudly wears his Indian identity on his sleeves. That pride is a result of a major shift that has taken place under Prime Minister Modi's direction and guidance in the last years in the international relations area. Specifically, we are talking about that. Two major things have happened in this. One was, we have given up our reticence when it comes to dealing with outside world. The reticence part I don't want to elaborate, because we were all, everybody knew about it, how we used to be very silent, very non-talking, non-communicative earlier. In the 8 years, Prime Minister Modi as Prime Minister, I think, has reached out to so many countries, so many leaders. Not a single week passes in India without one leader or the other coming to India, or our Prime Minister or another leader going out to some other country. So we have given up reticence. Proactive diplomacy is what has endeared India or took India to many corners of the world. That's one important factor. Second is, while doing that, we have maintained our stature, what we call as strategic autonomy. It's a very significant thing that Prime Minister Modi has maintained in the last 8 years. Not becoming a camp follower of this side or that side. Taking a firm stand, an independent stand, an autonomous stand on important issues. One may say, or especially our critics may say, Nehru also followed non-alignment. Non-alignment was the non-alignment of the weak. But here, strategic autonomy is a posturing with confidence, with strength that India has demonstrated. So that strategic autonomy has enhanced Prime Minister's prestige, India's dignity in the eyes of all the different countries in the world. That's the reason why you see a foreign Secretary of State from US coming to India in the same month as the Foreign Minister of Russia comes to India. Both sides respect India, our position is respected, our views are respected. Today, we have a very enhanced stature. That is what makes every Indian very proud, and he is ready to claim his Indianness publicly today all over.
Well, let me also get in Mr. P.R. Srijay's pride of India in his own right, as all the other distinguished panelists on this show. Srijay, I want to ask you, how can somebody at the age of 72 also be a youth icon? Because many young people see Narendra Modi as the tall leader in politics that they want to either emulate, or he occupies top of mind space. And look at the number of leadership surveys and popularity surveys, what have you. He continues to be the most popular world leader at this point. I want to ask you, in your team, when you won that bronze medal at the Olympics in Japan, it was a dry spell of 41 years that ended, and then you got that call from the Prime Minister. We've spoken before, but I want to ask you, today when you look back, what changed just because the Prime Minister called?
When you are looking as a player's perspective view, winning, losing a part of a team, and definitely when the Prime Minister himself calling after a defeat. I mean, I know that's what, when we lost in the semi-finals, he made a direct call, and we were all in the changing room, and he just said, "Don't worry about that. That losing of that match. We are all with you. Just focus. We are trusting you, and just go for the next match." And being a player, that was the best motivation ever you can get, because I never know that, okay, we never got any call like this from any other Prime Minister before, and that gave us more energy. He says that, okay, the India's Prime Minister himself calling us and motivating us, and he said he is with us. That is one of the prime quality of a leader, because winning and losing, he is with us. And the best part is that the very next day we were playing against Germany, and that was an early morning match in Indian time. And later on, he said to us that he skipped his daily routine yoga session, and he watched that match. So that is what we wanted. That is that encouragement what we are expecting from these leaders, because you are a participant or you are a medalist, he is welcoming everyone to his home. He is treating us. He give us the same respect the way he used to give to the medal winners, and he see us like an ambassador of this country. So that respect we definitely respect.
And what did the boys on the team actually talk about when this call came after your semi-final defeat and you had to go in for the bronze medal match? What was the general chat in the team members?
See, first thing was like, okay, we couldn't believe that. Are our Prime Minister call kar rahe aapko? Why? That was the question first of all. The second thing is that जब Prime Minister himself is saying that it's okay, just focus on the next match, then who is going to worry about anything else? That was the first one came, and then next time we said that, okay, we just need to give more importance, or we just need to put more energy in the next match, because we know that, okay, Prime Minister is going to watch that match, and that was some sort of motivation. That was some sort of what is like as a pump up thing for us. It's like when we talk, okay, he's going to watch us, let's do our best and just bring that glory to our country.
Well, those are amazing words. And Uday Mahurkar, it's that infectious thing about the leadership quality, that a team begins to feel that, oh, he's going to wake up in the morning India time and sit and watch us, let's put our best foot forward. There were crises in the country, the best foot forward was put. I also want to ask you, why does the Prime Minister and his face win the party election after election? You've been a journalist, you've been an author, you've written so many books, you've studied this issue closely. Is it because he has charisma? Is it because he has experience? Or is it because he just appears to some people as a family mukhya, कि सबके दुख दर्द भी सुनना है, उसका solution भी ढूंढना है? What is it that makes him so popular amongst the masses?
Navika, there are a series of features to do with Mr. Modi, which has created this atmosphere in the country. First of all, let us have a close look at his model. His model basically aims at it appeals to the pride of every Indian, and by appealing to that pride, it aims at bringing out the latent talent which is there in every individual. For that, it is very important to believe that every Indian, he might be a laborer, he might be lowest of persons, has something to offer to the nation if you are able to tap him at the right place. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, from day one, I have covered him for the last about 30 years now, has this unique ability to appeal to the pride element which is there in every person. There are two elements of pride in every person. One is pride for the nation. Another is about his own abilities. Even a chai wala would think that मेरे बाजू का चाय वाला है, उससे मैं ज्यादा अच्छा कर रहा हूं, मेरा बड़े बड़े लोग चाय पीने आते हैं. So you see that element he is able to appeal, and what that triggers, it brings out the latent talent which is present in every individual. It brings it out and then enjoys it with the developmental journey of the country. This is the main element of Mr. Modi's vision, his governance, his beliefs. Secondly, you see, we have to look at the history of the first 60 years of this, country, India was divided on the basis of religion and on the basis of a demand for partition on the part of a section of Muslims in this country. Now, the two main reasons behind India's partition were basically the policy of Muslim appeasement at the cost of Hindu rights, which was followed by the Congress leaders before independence, and plus the principle of complete non-violence. These two were the main factors, as we have said in our book on Savarkar, Veer Savarkar, the man who could have prevented partition. Now, what should have happened after independence? We should have followed a model, a policy where every Indian would have been treated equally. What happened? What happened was exactly the reverse. There was suppression of Hindu identity to appease Muslim element, Muslim community for that matter. And this continued for 60 years. We see it in the Places of Worship Act. Thousands of temples were destroyed during the medieval period. Then a section of Muslims led to the partition of this country. Yet, when the Places of Worship Act was enacted after independence, it did not include Ayodhya, Mathura and Kashi. Against the thousands of temples which were destroyed during the medieval period, at least 3 places of worship apart from Somnath should have come to Hindus. In 1990s, this act was amended to include Ayodhya, but again Krishna Janmabhoomi and Kashi Vishwanath were left out. So there was constant suppression. You see the rights which the Waqf boards have. Hindu institutions don't have those kind of rights. So there was suppression of Hindu identity at every stage. Today, the majority community feels that justice is being done to them without curtailing the rights of the minorities. Let me tell you one thing. This whole scenario being created that Hindus are giving something special at the cost of Muslim rights is totally wrong.
You're saying that the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is picking up the Hindu Asmita just as he did the Gujarati Asmita as Chief Minister of Gujarat, and today he is not shying away from these issues that have been pending resolution for so long. But let me get in Mr. Ram Madhav, since Mr. Uday Mahurkar has waded into the political landscape. Let me ask you, then how does he still manage to keep that persona and the popularity that he does, despite the fact that years and decades of appeasement has been put aside and a spade is being called a spade, and that is creating a lot of unsettled political parties in the opposition who are now trying to rally around each other. Do you think Narendra Modi makes these other political parties extremely insecure that they have to come together to fight him, because their one agenda has moved away really from issues to the man called Narendra Modi?
Firstly, we must understand several of Prime Minister Modi's real strengths as a person and as a leader. See, he is not someone who is looked at with great awe by people. He is a very great leader, very far away, very distant leader. We only can, look at him with great awe and all. No, of course, people look at him with great awe, but he's next door to you. He's your own elder. He connects with the masses here. He connects with the people. People relate with him. He talks to them. He's not a Mauni Baba. He communicates with them on a regular basis. In that communication, he has developed a strong bond with, especially you talked about youth and others earlier, with the youth and the people of this country. A strong connect he has been able to establish. And he is a leader in whom people do not see any element of self-interest. One leader whom people see as a very transparent person. He doesn't have anything that is his own. He is a single person. His whole life is for the nation. That belief enhances the credibility of that leader. With that credibility, with that connect, and with that emotional bonding that he has established over last many years, today, if he talks, if he calls a spade, majority of the people take it, accept it. So he is able to convey the right message that certain wrong things that have happened after independence should be stopped. But that doesn't mean we treat this country again on identity politics. Hindus, Muslims, this, that. No, we are all as one nation. We have to work together. But for that to happen, number one, you should be able to, convey certain strong messages. I remember what he at one point said when certain violence was happening in the name of cow in the country. He took a strong position. He said that we cannot be allowing engaging in this kind of violence. So he has developed that kind of a stature and that kind of an emotional connect with the masses, because of which today he is able to do very difficult things with an utmost ease. The way he handled Kashmir, the way he handled Ram Janmabhoomi, or the way he is handling many difficult issues. Please remember, he doesn't talk in the language of Hindu-Muslim ever. He only talks in the language of justice. He only talks in the language of giving their rights to every citizen of this country. If Hindu feels deprived of certain rights, his rights are there. If the other community feels deprived of any rights, they will be taken care of. That equanimity, that balance, that kind of treating every citizen with equal due respect is what endears Prime Minister Modi with a huge number of people. We generally tend to talk about Hindu issues, but did he not take issues like triple talaq head on? Did he not venture to wade into that space also, which is a very, very internal space of the Muslims? So he only looked at larger good of the women, larger good of the country, and came forward to take the most difficult decisions. He could carry on with those decisions because people developed great trust and faith in him. That is the greatest quality of that leadership.
And the age-old age-old position on Kashmir, which he sort of got into and made up his mind to look at. Not many governments, not many heads of governments, not many political parties would have had, really that kind of resolve to go and tackle that. But let me ask Shrijesh. Shrijesh, the question I want to ask you is, does the Prime Minister become popular also because people see him as an ordinary Indian, an ordinary man from a very modest background, rising up the ranks and becoming the prime minister of this country of 135 crore people? The reason I'm asking you that is that part of the reason that today's Indian is more self-confident, because he feels if this man can do it, so can I, and that is the aspirational India that he talks about?
See, I can correlate this incident with the sportsman, because everyone, they are not from a rich background. They are in the middle class or lower class family. They are working hard. They are fighting against all the odds and getting into the Indian team, or they are fighting against all the other countries and winning a medal for our country. So when it comes to a general category, definitely that is how they are looking into the situations. Okay, how a person from a normal background, how can he do the best things in the best way, and how can he become into the Prime Minister of our country. So it's definitely, that is an example of hard working, definitely dedication, and when more into that, it's a consistency. What we can say is that, okay, you can do something for some certain of period that never help you to become a champion. So hard working and dedication, if you don't do that with a consistency, definitely you can't be there as a role model of a Prime Minister. So for the youngsters, I believe as a leader, he involved with everyone. He talked to people. He asked them questions. He asked them their issues, and that makes him more familiar with all us athletes. Because when we have some interaction with the Prime Minister, which is rarely never happened before, and we feel like, yes, we are important for our country, and the Prime Minister himself giving us respect. He is talking about our family. He asks us what he need to do to the betterment of sports in India. So that's give us more respect for him. That's help us to feel like, okay, I can talk to our Prime Minister directly in any channel. It's an online interaction or it's a private meeting. So that scenario, what he creates for us, that freedom, what he shows in front of us, that I believe that's made him real popular in our sports community.
Well, it's the approachable nature of the Prime Minister, Uday Mahurkar. Do you think that is also something that creates the connect, apart from the oratory skills?
I'll add something more. Since I have penned 2 books on his governance. I think his governance model has also got a very big role to play in creating this atmosphere of self-confidence, of patriotism. You see, his governance model is a unique model. You see, in Delhi, right from postings of officers to procurement to tenders, there are middlemen. I think he's the first Prime Minister in this country who has tried to remove middleman culture altogether from the system. Right from the appointment of officers, procurement, you got GEM portal, generally marketing, where you can procure anything. There is no interaction between the government and the person who is seeking, who is procuring something. So you see, his model is very important. His model basically is a model based on equality. A contractor feels that he is getting a good deal. A poor person also feels that he is getting a very equal deal. So this capacity to address the problems of every individual and try to satisfy them, which is there inherent in his model, is one of the main reasons behind his popularity. I think it is one of the main reasons, you know.
Well, absolutely. The way he connects, the way he talks, and joining us is Mr. Amitabh Kant. He heads now the G20 mission of this government. Mr. Amitabh Kant, we're talking about Modi at 72. And Modi at 72 signifies many things for many people. Some see him as the brand ambassador of India, who's made India stand tall in the world. Some see him as a youth icon, somebody who leads the charge of an aspirational India. Some see him, as a man who has brought back self-expression back to Indians, especially the majority community. Many people feel, we're no longer apologetic about our identity, because appeasement is not part of his governance strategy. Amitabh Kant, you have been part of the bureaucracy for many, many decades. You've seen several governments come and go. I want to ask you, what is the difference between the governments of the past and this man at the helm of this government? Is it really a government that comes and goes as an entity of its own, or do leaders like Mr. Modi create a special catalyst to make governments work the way they do?
So Navika, the key, and let me look at this from a developmental perspective and transformation at the grassroots level. So, you know, if you were to look at, say, the Pradhan Mantri Janta Yojana, which has just completed 8 years, it is a very unique story of financial inclusion. Women account holders have risen from 15% in 2015 to 56% now. And the number of accounts are up from about 17 crore in 2015 to about 47 crore now, and almost 67% in rural areas. When this was being done, it was being said that there will not be deposits, but deposits have also risen about 8-folds. So I've been a party to, seen with my own eyes the transformation at grassroots level. If you were to look at, say, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, affordable houses have been provided to over 3 crore citizens, most of whom are in rural area. And this is equivalent to providing every single citizen, I mean, look at the size and scale of housing. Every single citizen of Australia, if you were to do a comparative analysis, every single citizen of Australia has got a new home. Or if you were to look at Ujala scheme, where LED bulbs were provided, 37 crore LED bulbs have been distributed, and this is like giving an LED bulb to every single citizen of United States of America. Or if you were to look at vaccination, we've administered over 2 billion COVID-19 vaccine doses. This is roughly 6 times the population, 6 times the population of the United States of America. It's 5 times the population of the European Union and 2.5 times the population of EU and USA combined. Or if you were to look at health insurance, which is the world's largest publicly funded health insurance scheme covering 500 million people, the Ayushman Bharat scheme, it covers more citizens than the entire population of the European Union. Or the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, 109 million toilets built till date. The number is greater than the entire population of Germany. Or let us look at electrification. 30 million houses have been electrified over the last 7 years. This means you have electrified the whole of Canada. And if you were to look at water, for instance, 8.1 crore or 81 million households have potable water under the Jal Jeevan Mission. That means approximately 243 million people have access to clean drinking water. This is like providing every single citizen in Brazil with clean drinking water. So the size and scale of transformation at grassroots level is unparalleled. I've been in government for about 44 years now. I've never seen this transformation, delivery, and really changing the lives of citizens of India to this scale. I've been a very active player in the aspirational district program, where I've seen through the use of good governance, data-based governance on 49 different indicators, changing and these are all backward districts. The Prime Minister said, don't call them backward, call them the aspirational districts of India. The lives of the common citizens have been transformed, and these districts have today become the best performing districts of their states. So my view is that as far as development is concerned, as far as delivery on ground is concerned, as far as transformation and delivery on ground, this has been an unparalleled story in the last 8 years.
Mr. Amitabh Kant, I don't want you to answer this bureaucratically. I want to ask you, why does the Prime Minister not have as many supporters in the political class today, given the scale of change, the scale of reform that has taken place? Everybody talks about the demo going wrong. Nobody talks about the fact that digital payments have become really so commonplace now that the chai wala in front of our own office today has a digital payment. He doesn't have to look for change, and you don't have to look for change, and you can just give him money through your digital payment. when you talk about self-expression, then people talk about identity politics of the majority kind. When he talks about development, they talk about crony capitalism and helping only a few. Why is it that in India we don't have a consensus on this, while the world recognizes the Prime Minister as somebody who's been the best as far as crisis management during COVID has been seen? Bill Gates just earlier this week has complimented him for that in an interview with me. I want to ask you, is this only politics, or is there still room for improvement?
No, I think we need to go beyond, far beyond politics to see the some of the transformational work that has been done. When we launched the Startup India campaign, the initiative, by the way, when the Prime Minister launched it, there were just about 106 odd startups in India. Today there are 78,000 startups. There are 107 unicorns, and our process of creating unicorns is much faster than Silicon Valley today. We've become the second best eco startup in India. You talked about the public digital platforms of India. We are the only country in the world today which has actually created the kind of public digital platform with individual identity, fast platforms of payments, consent-based payment, the technological leapfrogging that we have done through many of these, including COVID, in the last 5 to 6 years. This would have taken India about close to about 50 to 55 years to do this. That has all been accomplished in the period of 5 to 6 years. So I look at this from the perspective of change, from the perspective of technological leapfrogging, from the perspective of transforming India, and from the perspective of development, and not from the perspective of political eyes.
Before I go to Mr. Ram Madhav, I want to ask you, G20, the showcasing of India, is that going to be the crowning jewel? You're leading that initiative. Is that going to be the crowning glory of the 10 years of the Modi regime? And is this what Modi at 72 is preparing for? Because the kind of energy he has, he'd put a 27-year-old to shame.
So this is a huge opportunity because G20 account for about 85% of the global GDP. They account for 75% of the trade. They account for 2/3 of the population, 67% close to of the total patents in the world. And therefore, this is a massive opportunity for India, and to really demonstrate to the world, India's got this opportunity. You get this opportunity. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to present the best of India. And what the Prime Minister said is that these events must be held in every state of India, every union territory of India, and we should demonstrate to the world that we are one country which is focusing on inclusive and equitable growth, which is focusing on green development, which is focusing on accelerated pace of advancement in education, health, nutrition, all these areas. So I think we will try and do our best to present the progressive face of India. I'm saying this because in my experience during the last 8 years, I've seen that every single development scheme, whether it was health, whether it was roads, whether it was vaccination, whether it was housing, whether it was water, the implementation on ground, at the ground level, has always been 100% inclusive, fully inclusive for every citizen of India.
Well, Mr. Ram Madhav, do you think the Prime Minister, as the BJP says, the position of the leader of this country is not vacant for 2024? Do you think, he's going to have much more up his sleeve, in the run-up to 24 and beyond?
Navika, you earlier talked about the achievements of this government, why the opposition is envious of it or doesn't support it and all that. India has had certain achievements in the past also. Our communications revolution began under Rajiv Gandhi. Liberalization happened when Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister. Country has built on some of those important transformative changes that have happened in the past. But what happened in these last 7-8 years is what was highlighted by Mr. Amitabh Kant earlier. The important structural changes. It is not just about digital revolution. It's about providing basic empowerment to man on the street, the last man on the street. That is what has happened in the last 8 years. So today when India is standing up, it is standing up on the strength not of certain big industrialists or some IT industry or one sector or the other. The whole country is standing up today. That's what Prime Minister calls as Aatmanirbhar Bharat. That is the kind of India which we are going to present to the world next year when G20 happens here and all the leaders of all big countries come here. I'm sure Mr. Amitabh Kant and his big team is working in that direction. We will be presenting this new India to the entire world so that the world gets not only inspiration or confidence or whatever, it also comes to India to invest more and make us more prosperous and all that. Having said it, so that makes India's story very strongly, it's connected with its leadership. So this whole transformation, this structural transformation that is happening in India, where the last man is today standing up. Our friend just now mentioned, the ordinary player feels more confident today. He is standing up. That India is directly linked to one leader. So that leader will continue to lead and inspire this country for many more years to come. That is what is the general common sense that tells us. Having said it, I must only make one observation here, my personal observation. In public life, in politics, criticism is an integral part, Navika. Those who are criticizing us are not necessarily all of them are enemies of us or enemies of India. In politics, just as we get lot of bouquets, we also get some brickbats. Only expectation would be that people appreciate this fundamental great change that this country is passing through today. Appreciate that. Then of course you tell the people that you can do better. Maybe you get an opportunity, you will probably do better. That kind of criticism
Mr. Amitabh Kant, do you think people are going to really say that all is good when they talk about the 8 years or the 10 years of Modi? Aren't they going to say that you're glossing over major structural problems back home? Inflation, the fact that the economy, it may look like 7 or 8%, but that's on a base of negative growth in the past years, unemployment, all of these issues. So on these issues, do you think internally the Prime Minister sort of glosses over them, or is he absolutely aware and spends very minute attention in dealing with these issues?
So Navika, we are the only large country in the world which is growing at about 7.4% plus. Vast sectoral reforms have been carried out. If you look at GST, if you look at IBC, if you look at RERA, if you look at lowering of corporate taxes, if you look at ease of doing business, if you look at the huge energy that has been unleashed by bringing in competition amongst the states. And therefore, my view is that these reforms will place India in very good stead to grow at rapid rates in the years to come. Our packages during the COVID period were very well directed to ensure that we were able to provide livelihood to the common citizens and to the farmers of India, and that in the long run we do not build up inflationary pressures at home. Some of these pressures are coming in because of global reasons and global situations abroad, as hardening is done by US Fed. But we are very comfortable as far as both production of agricultural goods is concerned, as far as ensuring that our inflation is well controlled, and I'm absolutely confident that we'll continue to grow. And as the Prime Minister said said that this is once in a lifetime opportunity, that in the next 25 years we should really transform ourselves in one generation and actually make India a developed country. So I think we should look at all this with optimism, we should look at this with positivity, and we should really, as has been done in vast number of government schemes, look at changing the lives, look at how we've changed the lives of the common citizens of India.
Well, Mr. Uday Mahurkar, Modi at 72, how do you see him going forward?
No, I think he will emerge as, he has already emerged as India's best Prime Minister so far. If you evaluate the performance of every Prime Minister, Mr. Modi's performance would, I think, overshadow all previous performances, you know, and he will continue to grow. You see, he has got that vision. Let us take climate change. Climate change, he has taken the whole thing head on by saying that by 2070, India will be a carbon footprint country, free country. He has put all the developed nations on the back foot. So he's got that vision, you know. He has got a vision for the common man. He has vision for the poor. He has got vision for the business community. He has got a future vision for the youth. And he has got vision which addresses perhaps every feature of governance and public life. So he is going to grow. And he will, I think, when he leaves, when curtain rings down on his career, he will be one of the greatest leaders on the globe, I would say, you know. We have seen leaders over the last 100 years. And see his achievements and see the size of this country. As Mr. Amitabh Kant was saying, I mean, each scheme is addressing more people than the population of the countries of Europe, of American continent, you know.
Absolutely.
So he's going to grow, and I think he will, when he leaves, when the curtain rings down on his career, I think he would have been one of the greatest leaders in recent times on the globe.
That's not happening anytime soon, as we hear, because if you see the spring in his step, and I don't know how many do, but I definitely do look at the spring in his step when he's climbing the stairs onto Air India One, when he goes off on a foreign visit to a foreign land, and I don't see a 72-year-old there. Well, he's got more energy than any of us. He's got more energy than people who are probably 40, 50 years younger than him. And the scale of change that he's brought about. Well, today, in India of today, politically speaking, and in the social media, not many people can get away without being trolled by acknowledging what the Prime Minister as a leader has developed. But the biggest thing that I feel as an individual is that here is a leader that a younger generation can look up to and see that he is a performer, the fact that he comes from modest backgrounds and can head a nation and create a position for India in the global forum that they can actually emulate and feel proud about and be encouraged about. To me, that is the lesson for the next generation that Modi brings to this country. Thank you very much to my esteemed panelists for joining me on this special show, Modi at 72.